Hi everyone, it's Lucy from My Crazy Craft Life, and I'm here today with the design team post for Scrapping for Less. I'm going to be using the Spring Patterns paper pad from Scrapping for Less and the I Am a Crafter stamp set from Echo Park. And I am going to be making a quadruple slider card. And I love interactive cards, and I found this as I was scrolling through some YouTube videos at Shrusti Patel. I know I butchered that name, but I will link that as well. But that was also done in metric, and so I had to kind of play around with this to get it in inches. So what you're going to need is 5 squares cut at 3.5 inches, and then 4 of the tabs cut at 3.5 inches by 2 3/4 inches. And then as you can see on the squares, I cornered all 4 sides, and for the tabs I just did 2 sides on the short side, so at the 2 3/4 inch marks. Then what you're going to do is you are going to take 2 of the squares and you're going to draw a line down 1/2 inch from each edge. So you're going to kind of make that box. And then when you're done making the box, on 2 of the lines you're going to cut out a very small sliver on the same sides, so whichever side, since it's a square it really doesn't matter. And you're only going to go from kind of corner to corner where the marks are. And then what you're going to end up doing is getting a soft plastic, whether you use kind of a thicker plastic shopping bag, you know, that you get from the grocery store, but not the real cheap ones that a lot of the stores are giving us nowadays. Or like I used on this one, an Amazon package envelope that the stuff came in, and it was just a nice soft plastic that I was able to use. So now you can do this with the paper cutter like I did here. I personally like to use the craft knife, so that's what I ended up doing with it. And you're, like I said, you're going to do it on the same parallel lines. So you're going to make those little slivers and cut them out. And what we're going to do is we're going to make a band with the plastic. And that's how we're going to make our slider cards. So you're doing that, like I said, on 2 of the squares. You're going to cut out those pieces, and that ends up being about 2.5 inches. So you're going to cut the plastic strips a little less because you want to make sure they're going to move freely, but you also don't want them too thin. And I love making interactive cards that don't use any types of dies and stuff, so that's why, like I said, when I saw this and you didn't need any types of dies to make this, I just loved it. And I think it's so much fun, and it's really much easier than I had expected when I first started making it. And I did one, you know, to start with. Now you're also going to need score tape, and you're going to need foam tape. So now you're going to take that soft plastic. Now you do want to make sure that it doesn't have any edges or seams in the plastic. So that's just a flat piece with no seams in it. And like I said, I'm making it a little over the 2.5 inches. And we're going to put that through, and you're going to use the score tape at the very edge of one of the sides. You're going to put the score tape down, you're going to seal it with the other side, and then you're going to cut off all of the excess on there to make sure that it's real thin and that there's nothing extra on there. Then you're going to make sure that it kind of moves around slowly. So you want this a little tight, but not super tight that you're not going to be able to spin it. Then you're going to want to make sure that that tape is at one side all the way to the edge, all the way to the, you know, right before it's going to start spinning over and around. And then you're going to add more score tape right on top of that same one. And then you're going to add one of the tabs right to the edge of that. Then on the opposite side, so the opposite side that you just put that one on, you're going to add another tab on the opposite side of the paper, so on the top and the bottom, and that's going to create one of the sliders. Then we're going to create the second one. You're going to do exactly the same thing, kind of weave in the plastic through those slits. You're going to pull it over, put the score tape down and then cut off all of the excess, and then scroll it over or roll it over to the very edge, because that's what's going to give you the longer, or to be able to move it freely and all the way in and out. If you, which I did on the first one that I made, I did not have it in the right area and I didn't slide it all the way to the edge, and then it gets stuck. So you don't want it to get stuck. You want to make sure that it's going to move freely back and forth. And then, like I said, I added the score tape on there. You add a tab. So you're going to have that 3.5 inches is going to give you about a 1/2 inch tab to be able to pull, because the tab is 3.5 inches long. So then you're going to pop that one down. Then what you're going to do, now you have both slider mechanisms, so that's going to make the quad, the 4 sliders all the way around. You're going to use foam tape, and it has to be really thin because you're not even going to be able to use the 1/2 inch. It's going to have to be thinner than that. So you're going to kind of make a track for that slider to roll through back and forth, and it's going to pop it up enough so that you don't have anything kind of in the way of as it's trying to go in and out as you're sliding it back and forth. So now you're going to take one of the sliders, you're going to put foam tape on both sides. I ran out of my one, so I have some 1/2 inch that I'm actually cutting down some, and I'm putting it, like I said, on those sides. And you're just doing it when you're making the track of that, and you're doing it on both sides of that one, and then you're going to pop on a square on top of it, one of the ones that you didn't draw on and cut out, and then on the back side you're going to put another one. Then with this second slider part of it, you're going to put a square on, and on the other side you put the tape on it, so you have the tape on both, but now this one you're going to put down so that they match up opposite. So some of the sliders, 2 of the sliders will go on the one side and 2 of the sliders will go up. And that's it. That is how you make the quadruple slide. So it's really simple, it's really cool. Now you see how I used like dots or squares, foam squares. I like the long pieces of foam tape better because those made it look a little, I don't know, just not cohesive. You know, using the strips just made it look much more cohesive. Then you have so many different options that you can do with this, but for this particular one, I then cut out 4 tabs that are going to layer the inside of all of the tabs, and those tabs are 2.5 inches by 2.5 inches. Now, I am going to suggest that you make it 3 inches by 2.5 so that it's longer, and then the longer portion is going to go inside so it doesn't catch it all as you're sliding in and out, so that it actually goes underneath the panel when you put it in there a little bit when the sliders are pulled all the way out, because you want to make sure that it's not catching. And I didn't do that with this one, and I did notice that it caught a little bit just on the one side, because after I realized it did that, I moved the other ones a little bit further in, and I think that'll work out much better. So I think you should definitely do it at 3 inches by 2.5. And then again, I just cornered 2 of the edges at the 2.5 side to match what was already there. And you're going to want to make sure that you're leaving that 1/2 inch on the edge so that's not showing out, so it's kind of surprised when you pop it out. Now I chose 2 different patterns to go on there. I matched up the top and the bottom pattern along with the side to side pattern. Then you're also, for the center, you're going to need a 3.25 inch square in the pattern paper. And then for the top piece, it's going to be 2 3/4, so I made that a 1/2 inch smaller because I wanted to really show off the paper more. And then for the sentiments and the photos, for the photos I used a larger square and then cornered everything at 1 3/4 inches. And then for the sentiments I used 1.5 inch by 1 3/4. I just used some different color inks that I had laying around, a couple Lawn Fawn, some Hero Arts. I did try the rainbow one and I didn't like how that was, so I went and grabbed a different one. For the camera and the typewriter, I thought that was cute, and since this is about I am a crafter, so it has all crafty things in there. It talks about art, um, gives you some scissors, some glasses, which I now need when I'm crafting. I did take a little bit of tumbled glass Distress Oxide just and edged around the sentiment on the center of it. And then I just popped all the sentiments in the center of those panels. And that will pretty much be it as far as the slider portions all go. That's it. Once you adhere everything down, you're kind of good to go. You do want to make sure that you adhere them well so that all sides are stuck down really well, so that they don't catch when you're going, sliding them in and out. Then I also cut a 5.5-inch square, and or actually I think that's a 6-inch, but I decided that I wanted to cut that down, so I ended up cutting it down to about 5 inches because I just thought that ended up looking better. And then I also used the Lawn Fawn stamp that said pull here, push here, pull here. So it has a pull here sentiment along with a little arrow, and I ended up putting that on every single one of the panels, so that they knew each panel had to be pulled. And then, like I said, I cut that down to the 5 inches. And if you're going to put it on top of a card like that or on top of a panel, you are going to want to make sure that you pop it up. So I used some more foam tape here so that the person can actually pull the tabs and they have some room for that. And then if you do this, then you have the entire back that you can write on, if you don't actually put a sentiment in there, or you can put whatever you want on the back of it. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed this card. I know it was a little long, so I wanted to make sure I got through some of this stuff a little quicker. Thanks for joining me. Stick around, watch a couple other videos, and I hope everyone takes care and has a great holiday. Thank you.